In the vast, dark expanse of the Orion sector, the human research vessel Darim glided silently through space. Captain Juno Park stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the holographic displays that flickered with countless streams of data. The ship's interior hummed with a soft, steady rhythm of advanced technology and human determination. Lieutenant Yuna Kim sat at the communications station, her fingers dancing across the quantum interface. She had been monitoring unusual energy signatures for the past 3 standard hours, and something felt different tonight. The sensors were picking up something strange, a disturbance that didn't match any known stellar phenomena. "Captain," Yuna called out, her voice cutting through the quiet tension of the bridge. "We're detecting an anomalous energy reading at coordinates 42.7 Mark 3.2. Chono approached her station, his military training evident in every precise movement. He studied the fluctuating data streams, noting how the energy signature seemed to pulse and shift in ways that defied traditional understanding. It wasn't random. It felt deliberate. The rest of the bridge crew watched in silent anticipation. They were a diverse team of scientists and explorers, each selected for their exceptional skills and ability to remain calm under pressure. The Darim wasn't just a research vessel. It was humanity's furthest exploration point into uncharted space. Suddenly, the holographic displays erupted with a cascade of light and color. Something was emerging from quantum space, a massive object that seemed to materialize from nothingness. The ship's advanced sensors struggled to classify the incoming vessel, its design so alien that it challenged every known computational model. Chunho's hand instinctively moved to the communication console. First contact protocols were ingrained in every space exploration officer's training, but nothing could truly prepare them for an actual encounter with an unknown intelligence. The alien vessel was enormous, easily 5 times the size of the Darim. Its surface seemed to shimmer and shift, as if made of liquid metal that could change configuration at will. No visible windows, no recognizable propulsion systems, just a sleek, almost organic-looking structure that defied human engineering concepts. Yuna's communication systems began receiving signals. They weren't traditional radio waves or electromagnetic transmissions, but complex quantum entanglement messages that required split-second quantum decryption. Her hands moved rapidly, trying to establish some form of comprehensible communication. "Unknown vessel approaching," she reported, her voice steady despite the unprecedented nature of their encounter. Attempting initial communication protocols. The bridge crew watched in a mixture of scientific excitement and barely contained anxiety. Juno knew this moment could potentially rewrite humanity's understanding of the universe. First contact wasn't just a theoretical scenario anymore. It was happening right in front of them. The alien vessel continued its approach, moving with a grace that suggested intelligence far beyond mechanical navigation. It didn't feel threatening, but it certainly didn't feel friendly either. It was calculating, deliberate, almost curious. Juno considered their options. The Darim was equipped with defensive systems, but against a technology so advanced, those defenses might be as useful as throwing stones at a tank. Their primary directive was observation and peaceful communication. "Prepare standard communication packages," Juno ordered. "Multiple language matrices, mathematical sequences, universal constant representations. Let's show them we're here to communicate, not confront." Yuna nodded, her fingers already uploading complex data packages that represented humanity's best attempt at universal communication. Mathematical constants, prime number sequences, representations of fundamental physical laws, a cosmic introduction to human intelligence. As the alien vessel drew closer, the bridge crew held their collective breath. This was a moment that would be recorded in human history, the first genuine encounter with an extraterrestrial intelligence. No one knew what would happen next. The universe, it seemed, was about to get much more interesting. The alien vessel's communication burst through the Darim systems with a precision that sent chills down the spines of every crew member. The message was direct, cold, and utterly devoid of diplomatic niceties. In a series of complex, quantum-encrypted signals, The Krell Collective delivered their ultimatum. Humanity must immediately surrender all territorial claims in the Orient sector or face complete and total destruction. Captain Juno Park stood motionless for a moment, processing the threat. His mind raced through possible responses, weighing diplomatic strategy against the survival of human exploration efforts. Around him, the bridge crew waited in tense silence, their hands hovering over various control systems. Lieutenant Yuna Kim's eyes narrowed as she analyzed the transmission. The language was mathematical, but underneath the precise calculations, she detected something unexpected. A hint of arrogance, a subtle assumption of absolute superiority. The Krell believed their technological advantage made negotiation unnecessary. Juno understood immediately that this was not a typical first contact scenario. The Krell weren't interested in communication or mutual understanding. They viewed humans as nothing more than an insignificant obstacle to be removed. "We will not transmit a standard response," Junho announced, surprising his bridge crew. "Prepare a specialized quantum encryption package." The crew exchanged quick glances. This was far from standard procedure. Junho was preparing something entirely different, a response that would challenge the Krell's fundamental understanding of communication and intelligence. Yuna began constructing a complex mathematical sequence that looked like a standard response but contained deeply embedded algorithmic challenges. Each number, each mathematical constant was carefully positioned to create a logic puzzle that would force the Krell's computational systems to work overtime. The alien vessel maintained its aggressive stance, energy weapons partially charged, ready to obliterate the Darim at a moment's notice. Its massive structure blocked out entire sections of Starfield, a silent threat of total annihilation. Chunho watched the developing strategy with calm concentration. Humans had always been adaptable, creative problem solvers. Where other species might rely on pure computational power, humans introduced unpredictability, a quality that could be both their greatest weakness and their most powerful strength. The transmission Yuna prepared was a masterpiece of computational art. On the surface, it appeared to be a standard surrender response, but buried within its complex layers were recursive algorithms designed to challenge the Krell's logical processing systems. Each mathematical sequence was a trap, each number a potential disruption to their computational logic. It wasn't just a message, it was an intellectual challenge that would force the Krell to engage with human thinking in a way they had never experienced. "Transmission ready," Yuna reported, her finger hovering over the send button. Shunho nodded. "Send it." The quantum encrypted message shot across the vast space between the two vessels, moving faster than light, carrying within it humanity's first true response to an alien threat. For several long moments, nothing happened. The alien vessel remained motionless, its massive structure blocking out stars. The bridge crew held their collective breath, unsure what would happen next. Then, subtle changes began to ripple across the Krell vessel's surface. Energy readings fluctuated. Communication channels began to show signs of internal computational stress. Something was happening, something the Krell had not anticipated. Shunho allowed himself the smallest of smiles. Humanity's greatest weapon had always been its ability to think beyond established parameters, to introduce chaos into seemingly perfect systems. The challenge had been issued. Now, they would wait and see how the Krell would respond to an intellectual confrontation, unlike anything in their recorded history. The game of survival had begun, and humanity was playing by its own rules. The bridge of the Darim grew silent as Lieutenant Yuna Kim's fingers danced across the quantum communication interface. Her eyes were focused, intense, scanning through layers of alien digital architecture that no human had ever penetrated before. What she discovered was both terrifying and fascinating. The Krell Collective's communication network had a critical vulnerability, a fundamental flaw in their computational logic that relied entirely on predictable information processing. Humans, with their chaotic and creative thinking, represented something the Krell could not easily comprehend. Chunho watched as Yuna began constructing a series of recursive algorithms. These weren't just simple computer codes. They were intellectual traps designed to exploit the rigid thinking of the alien computational systems. Each algorithm was a carefully crafted puzzle that would force the Krell systems to waste enormous computational resources. "I found their weakness," Yuna announced, her voice calm but filled with a hint of excitement. "Their entire network operates on a principle of absolute logical prediction. They cannot handle true randomness." The alien vessel remained stationary, its previous aggressive posture now seeming uncertain. The quantum encrypted message from earlier had already started to create subtle disruptions in their system, and Yuna was about to launch her next strategic move. She introduced a series of mathematical sequences that looked like standard data but contained hidden recursive loops. These loops would force the Krell's computational systems to continuously recalculate, creating an intellectual equivalent of an infinite maze. Juno understood the strategy immediately. It wasn't about destroying the alien vessel through traditional warfare. This was intellectual combat, a battle of adaptive thinking against rigid computational logic. The first signs of disruption appeared quickly. Energy readings on the Krell vessel began to fluctuate wildly. Communication channels started showing signs of internal stress, like a complex machine suddenly encountering something it couldn't process. What the Krell hadn't anticipated was human creativity. Their entire technological advancement had been based on predictable, logical progression. Humans, by contrast, thrived on innovation, on finding solutions that defied conventional understanding. Yuna's algorithms were designed to be deliberately unpredictable. They would present logical problems that had multiple potential solutions, something completely foreign to the Krell's binary thinking. Each computational path the alien systems tried to follow would lead to another complex puzzle. The bridge crew watched in amazement as the massive alien vessel began to show signs of genuine confusion. Its energy signatures became erratic, its previously precise movements now uncertain and hesitant. "They're trying to process our communication," Yuna explained, "but they can't. We're presenting them with intellectual challenges that break their fundamental understanding of information exchange." Junho recognized this as a quintessential human approach. Where other species might rely on brute force or technological superiority, humans used adaptability and creative problem-solving as their primary weapons. The Krell had expected a straightforward confrontation. Instead, they found themselves entangled in an intellectual web that challenged their most basic computational principles. Their advanced technology, which had always been their greatest strength, was now becoming their most significant vulnerability. As minutes passed, the alien vessel's systems continued to struggle. The recursive algorithms Yuna had introduced were like a virus of creativity, constantly changing, constantly challenging the rigid computational framework of the Krell collective. "They're attempting to isolate the disruption," Yuna observed, "but our algorithms are evolving faster than their isolation protocols." Juno understood the profound significance of this moment. This wasn't just a potential victory against an alien threat. This was proof of humanity's most remarkable characteristic, the ability to think beyond established limitations. The massive alien vessel, once a symbol of technological superiority, now appeared uncertain, its previously confident stance replaced by what could only be described as computational confusion. Humanity had just demonstrated that true intelligence was not about processing power, but about adaptability, creativity, and the willingness to challenge existing paradigms. The battle was far from over, but for the first time, the Krell collective was genuinely uncertain about its ability to overcome its human opponents. The Krell vessel's systems began to show critical signs of failure. Captain Juno Park watched with calculated intensity as the alien ship's energy signatures became increasingly unstable. Lieutenant Yuna Kim continued her relentless assault of quantum algorithms, each sequence designed to probe deeper into the vessel's computational vulnerabilities. What made humans unique was becoming brutally apparent. The Krell had evolved with a singular focus on logical processing, believing that pure computational power was the ultimate form of intelligence. They had never encountered a species that could introduce deliberate, creative chaos into their precise systems. Yuna's latest algorithmic sequence was a masterpiece of intellectual warfare. It wasn't just a set of mathematical challenges. It was a living, evolving problem that changed its own parameters constantly. The recursive loops she had designed were eating away at the Krell's central processing networks like an intelligent virus. Their defensive systems are breaking down, Yuna reported, her fingers moving with surgical precision across the quantum interface. They're attempting to isolate our signal, but our algorithms are adapting faster than their containment protocols. The bridge crew watched in a mixture of scientific fascination and strategic concentration. This wasn't a traditional battle. This was an intellectual confrontation that challenged the very foundations of technological understanding. The Krell vessel had been designed with multiple redundant systems, each layer of computational protection more complex than the last. But they had a fundamental weakness. They could not comprehend true randomness. Humans, with their ability to think outside established parameters, represented an entirely new form of intellectual threat. Junho recognized the critical moment. The Krell were experiencing something they had never encountered before: genuine uncertainty. Their entire technological civilization was built on predictive models and absolute logical progression. Yuna's algorithms were introducing something completely foreign: unpredictability. Energy weapons on the Krell vessel began to misfire. Communication channels collapsed into cascading error messages. The once mighty alien ship now looked like a complex machine slowly losing its fundamental ability to function. They're attempting to reboot their primary systems, Yuna observed, a hint of professional excitement in her voice. But our quantum encryption is preventing a clean reset. The recursive algorithms were more than just computer codes. They were intellectual traps that forced the Krell's computational systems to continuously recalculate, creating an endless maze of logical challenges. Each attempt to solve the puzzle only created more complex problems. Junho understood the profound significance of this moment. Humanity's greatest weapon was not advanced technology, but the ability to think creatively, to introduce chaos into seemingly perfect systems. The Krell had assumed technological superiority meant invincibility. They were learning a painful lesson about the nature of true intelligence. The massive alien vessel began to drift, its previously precise movements now erratic and uncertain. Internal systems were collapsing, unable to process the constant stream of intellectual challenges introduced by the Durham's quantum communication package. Their central processing network is approaching complete systemic failure, Yuna reported, her voice steady and professional. What the Krell had not anticipated was humanity's capacity for adaptive thinking. Where other species might rely on brute computational power, humans introduced variables that defied traditional logical processing. Each algorithm was a puzzle, each communication a potential trap. The bridge crew watched in collective amazement as the once threatening alien vessel slowly lost its ability to maintain basic functional integrity. The Krell collective's assumptions about technological superiority were crumbling before their eyes. Junho realized they were witnessing something extraordinary, a fundamental challenge to the nature of intelligence itself. Technology was not just about processing power, but about the ability to adapt, to think beyond established parameters. The Krell vessel continued to drift, its once perfect systems now a testament to the limitations of pure logical processing. Humanity had just demonstrated that true intelligence was about creativity, adaptability, and the willingness to challenge existing paradigms. As critical systems continued to fail, the alien vessel became a silent monument to a profound scientific and philosophical revelation. Intelligence was far more complex than any single technological civilization could comprehend. The final moments of the confrontation arrived with an unexpected calm. Captain Junho Park stood on the bridge of the Durham, watching the once mighty Krell vessel slowly drift like a wounded mechanical beast. Lieutenant Yuna Kim's quantum algorithms had done more than just disable the alien ship. They had fundamentally broken its computational spirit. What humans had accomplished went beyond traditional warfare. This was a victory of intellectual adaptation, a demonstration of the most powerful weapon in the universe: creative problem-solving. The Krell Collective had arrived with absolute confidence in their technological superiority, believing humans to be nothing more than a primitive species to be eliminated. Yuna's final algorithmic sequence was her masterpiece. It wasn't just a set of mathematical challenges, but a living, breathing intellectual construct that could modify itself in real time. Each computational pathway the Krell attempted to follow led to more complex, more challenging problems. The bridge crew watched in collective amazement as the alien vessel's systems continued to collapse. Internal communication networks fragmented. Energy systems became increasingly unstable. The Krell were experiencing something they had never encountered before: genuine intellectual defeat. Their central processing is completely compromised, Yuna reported, her fingers still dancing across the quantum interface. The alien vessel's once precise movements had become erratic, like a complex machine slowly losing its ability to function. Chuno understood the profound significance of this moment. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to think beyond established limitations. Where other species saw rigid systems, humans saw opportunities for creative intervention. The Krell had assumed technological complexity meant invincibility. They were learning a painful lesson about the nature of true intelligence. The quantum algorithms were more than just computer codes. They were intellectual traps that forced the Krell's computational systems into continuous, unresolvable calculations. Each attempt to solve the puzzle only created more complex challenges. Massive energy fluctuations began to ripple across the alien vessel's surface. Critical systems were failing, unable to process the constant stream of adaptive challenges introduced by the Durham's communication package. The Krell were experiencing something close to computational panic, a state entirely foreign to their logical existence. What made this victory unique was its bloodless nature. No traditional weapons had been fired. No physical destruction had occurred. Instead, humanity had defeated a technologically superior civilization through pure intellectual creativity. The alien vessel continued to drift, its once threatening presence now reduced to a silent, broken machine. Internal systems collapsed one by one, each failure a testament to the limitations of pure logical processing. The Krell had never anticipated encountering a species that could introduce deliberate, creative chaos into their precise systems. Yuna's final algorithm was a work of intellectual art. It constantly evolved, presenting the Krell with intellectual challenges that had no straightforward solution. Their computational systems, designed for absolute predictability, simply could not cope with such adaptive thinking. Chunho watched the spectacle with a mixture of professional satisfaction and scientific wonder. This was more than a military victory. This was a fundamental challenge to understanding intelligence itself. Technology was not just about processing power, but about the ability to adapt, to think beyond established parameters. The bridge crew remained silent, understanding they were witnessing a moment that would redefine humanity's place in the universe. The Krell Collective had arrived with the intention of eliminating what they saw as an inferior species. Instead, they had encountered an intellectual force that defied their most fundamental understanding of intelligence. As the alien vessel continued its slow, defeated drift, it became a silent monument to human creativity. No traditional weapons had been used. No physical force had been applied. Pure intellectual adaptation had defeated a civilization that had believed itself unbeatable. Complete systemic failure confirmed, Yuna finally announced, her voice steady and professional. Shunho nodded, understanding that this moment would be remembered as a turning point in human exploration. They had not just survived an alien threat. They had demonstrated the most powerful weapon in the universe: the human capacity for creative, adaptive thinking. The Direm had just changed the rules of cosmic interaction forever.